Achievements are now fully out, and if you complete all of them, you'll unlock tons of free rewards and also get a limited time banner to show off on your profile. Some of these achievements are really hard or really annoying, so I'll be going through them all and explain how to easily do them. But first, I'll note a few different things. There are several achievements that are automatically completed when you do the hardest one. For example, all of the damage achievements obviously become completed when you do 20,000 damage, so I won't cover achievements that have a harder version of themselves, but I will cover all of the others. There are also hidden achievements that only exist as bonus lunacy rewards and don't count towards the 131 achievements count. They involve just getting lucky and stumbling into rare fights or unlocking really rare ego gifts. Don't worry about these achievements, they're simply for free lunacy and aren't required to be completed. There are a ton of collection achievements, but most of them are really easy to do and are done without effort. Clear a mirror dungeon with 30 ego gifts is super easy, should be completed without effort. The same goes for completing a run with 15 ego gifts of every keyword. All of these are easy as long as you do a run with said team or just simply grab 15 of the gifts you need on the side when doing a run with a different status team. The only one I messed up on is poise, simply because there's not a lot of poise gifts, so if you fuse them together to get tier 4s, you can ruin your attempt. Otherwise, these are free and just take a few runs. 10 slash, pierce, and blunt ego gifts are a bit more annoying because not a lot exists, and usually you don't focus on these too heavily in a run. Sometimes they'll happen naturally when doing a Mirror Dungeon Extreme run, but focus more on getting 10 in a floor 5 run if you don't. Clear a Mirror Dungeon with over 20 tier 4 ego gifts should be done on a Mirror Dungeon Extreme run. For me, it happened without trying, but double check and count how many tier 4 ego gifts you have on floor 15 before finishing your run. If you don't have enough, fuse vestiges and whatnot until you have 20. You could also just do that achievement when attempting these two, which require 10 tier 4 fusion ego gifts and 8 theme pack exclusive tier 4 ego gifts. These achievements are annoying since you don't normally pick up this many tier 4 fusion ego gifts from specific packs in a run, but luckily they can both be completed at the same time since specific pack tier 4s you fuse will count for both achievements. I would do these achievements in a floor 10 run, and the packs you should select are Murder on the Warp Express rerun, which has 3 tier 4 fusion ego gifts, Time Kill and Time rerun, which has 2 ego gifts, Nocturnal Sweepin', which has 2 ego gifts, and Yield My Flesh to Claim Their Bones rerun, which also has 2. These amount to 9 total tier 4 fusion ego gifts from specific packs, so you can end up missing one if that ends up happening. If you don't get enough and need to do another pack, the Dusk of Amber is another pack with 2 tier 4 fusion ego gifts, but they're kinda hard to craft. Then there are several achievements that require you to unlock various things, with the first 3 requiring you to complete various packs in all of the various difficulties. This simply requires playtime to complete. Some people will have these completed instantly, while if you're newer to the game, you'll have to prioritize picking packs you haven't done before. Along with unlocking packs, you'll have to unlock 20 ego gifts of each keyword, which again is pretty easy. Some will complete these instantly if you've done a run with every team before, and some will have to prioritize picking up new ego gifts. And the last collection achievement requires you to unlock 350 total ego gifts. This is pretty hard since at the current moment there's only 404 ego gifts in the game, so you'll need to obtain most of them. Again, this just takes playtime. Select packs you haven't done before and fuse for special ego gifts in various packs to complete this. There are a lot of clear achievements that can honestly all be summarized with these 3 achievements. First, clear a Mirror Dungeon Extreme run at floor 15. This is pretty easy and something you'll have to do for other achievements anyways. Second, you have to clear a dungeon up to floor 10 times, which is again easy but just requires a lot of runs. I wouldn't suggest doing runs only to floor 10, but instead do several Mirror Dungeon Extreme runs since going to floor 15 will count towards this anyways and you'll get achievement points by doing so. And then last, you'll need to do 50 runs up to floor 5, which is pretty annoying since it simply requires you to grind the game a lot. If you're looking to complete achievements, I'd suggest doing 3 Mirror Dungeon runs a week while spreading out your weekly bonuses. That way you can get more season battle pass XP on the side and won't have to cram like 30 floor 5 runs last minute, which isn't the most fun. Loadout achievements suck, simply because they require you to own specific IDs to complete them. If you don't own all of the IDs in the game, you're kinda cooked, which isn't really fun. Luckily, none of the loadout achievements require IDs from Season 6, so if you don't own all of the Season 6 IDs, you don't have to worry about not being able to shard them. First, there are several different achievements requiring that you finish a run with 5 IDs of every single keyword. These only have to be in your loadout, so if you don't have a leveled team for every keyword, just simply have backup IDs that have the keyword that you need. You can also swap out IDs with the ones you need on the final floor using the team swap function in the shop, which is a valid strategy for not only these achievements, but some of the future ones as well. Then there are all of the various loadout achievements that require specific IDs to be completed, and also usually entail specific factions defeat in specific packs. I won't explain how to do all of these specifically for every achievement, but I will list out all of the IDs for each faction so you can see if you own any of them. I should also note that if the achievement says that they only need to be in the loadout, you can simply have them as backup units, that way you don't have to level or up-tie them. But if it specifies that they need to be on the field, you'll need to use these IDs in combat. First, clear floor 5 with 5 Leo Association IDs in your loadout at the time of completion. Leo Association IDs include Leo Yisane, Leo Ishmael, Leo Rodion, Leo Ryoshu, Leo Mirso, Leo Hanlu, and Leo Gregor. Clear floor 5 with 3 middle identities in your loadout. Middle identities include Middle Mirso, Middle Don Quixote, Middle Sinclair, Middle Apprentice Ishmael, and eventually the future Middle Nurse Father Otis. Defeat the Miracle in District 20 rerun pack boss with only Heathcliff and Don identities on the field. This one is pretty easy, especially if you have Heath or Don IDs with evade skills. Just make sure you pick this pack as soon as possible rather than later when the enemies scale a lot in damage and health. Defeat the Time Killing Time rerun pack boss with 2 T-Corp identities in your loadout. There are only 3 T-Corp identities at the moment, those being T-Corp Rodion, T-Corp Don Quixote, and T-Corp Otis. Defeat the 4 Kanto 9 packs with 3 House of Spider identities in your loadout, along with LCB Ryoshu. At the current moment, there are 6 House of Spider identities, with likely 9 possible ones coming out. I'm not counting Bad End Ryoshu since you'll need to use LCB Ryoshu for this achievement. Defeat the Heartbreak Impact boss with 3 Wuthering Heights identities, including Wild Hunt Heathcliff. There's currently only 3 Wuthering Height identities, those being Wild Hunt Heathcliff, Chief Butler Otis, and Butler Faust. I honestly thought that the Edgar family identities would count, but apparently they don't actually have the Wuthering Heights tag, which I guess makes sense, but like. Defeat the Infinite Procession pack with Sink Mirso, Zwei Sinclair, Fanehunt Office Fixer Han Lu, and Firefist Gregor in your loadout. Really random group of IDs that make for a really scuffed team. Defeat the Murder on the Warp Train Express rerun pack boss with 4 Bloodfiend identities in your loadout. Currently, Bloodfiend identities include Manager Don, Princess Rodion, Barber Otis, Priest Gregor, and Prince Mirso. Defeat the Unconfronted pack boss with 2 Mechanical Amalgamation identities in your loadout. This theme pack only shows up on floor 2 and 3, unlike most of the other packs that you can do until floor 5. There are currently 4 Mechanical Amalgamation identities in the game, those being the Ring Nurse Father and Apprentice, and Multi-Crack Office Fixer Faust and Heathcliff. Defeat the A Beautiful Voice pack with Wild Hunt Heathcliff on the field. This is an extreme mode pack, so you'll only see it on floors 11 through 15. Also note that Wild Hunt has to be on the field, unlike a lot of the other achievements listed here. Defeat 5 packs, those being the Murder on the Warp Express, Murder on the Warp Express rerun, La Mancha Land Reopening, the Infinite Procession, and the Dream Ending packs bosses with Manager Don on the field. A lot of packs to do here, but you can do the other achievement that requires 4 Blood Fiends on the team versus the Warp Train Express pack while doing this one. And then finally, the last loadout achievement requires that you beat a floor 5 run with a rental team. Pretty simple and easy when compared to a lot of the other ones. Most shop achievements are actually really easy and usually completed without much effort, but there are some that can be an issue. First, in a single run, use the shop refresh function, including keyword refreshes 50 times. If you buy all the Starlight upgrades, you'll get 4 free refreshes at each shop, and if you do a floor 15 run and use all of your free refreshes at every floor, you'll have used 45 at the end of your run. Then just pay for a few refreshes and you'll definitely be over 50. Just make sure that you use all of your free refreshes even when you're out of cost. Purchasing 50 ego gifts in a single run is stupid easy, should happen naturally when doing a floor 15 run. Enhancing 20 ego gifts in a run is kinda easy but does require a little attention. Just make sure that you enhance all the ego gifts you own at least once on floor 10 when enhancing is cheap. Clearing a mirror dungeon with over 5,000 cost is actually pretty annoying, and by far the one that requires the most effort. There are several different strategies for this. One is to simply do a floor 10 run and save cost after floor 5 and then sell ego gifts if needed at floor 10 until you hit 5,000. This strategy definitely works, but what I did was just simply do a Mirror Dungeon Extreme run and then save all of my cost after floor 10 while selling fragments or vestiges that I didn't need. Was able to easily do it, but if you're under 5,000 on floor 15, you can just sell as many ego gifts as needed before completing the dungeon. For one ally, replace all of their skill 1s and 2s with skill 3s. Stupid easy should happen naturally and is way easier now that you can pick specific sinners for skill replacements. In a single run, fuse for ego gifts at least 20 times. This is also really easy. You should be fusing for at least one ego gift on every floor, so this should be completed without effort in a Mirror Dungeon Extreme run. Combat achievements are some of the more harder ones, but they're definitely doable if you know what you're doing. First, there are several achievements requiring that you hit 99 potency on an enemy for all the various statuses in the game. These are easy and can even be done with hybrid identities for a team you're not running. For example, if you do a Burn Mirror Dungeon run with Hornet Mirso, if you pick enough Bleed Ego gifts up, you can pretty easily hit 99 Bleed potency even while doing a burn run. There are two achievements here though that did take a bit of effort. First, the 99 Poise potency can be hard, and it's easiest to do with a Poise identity, but you can pretty easily brute force it by spamming a defense skill that gains Poise if you have enough Poise ego gifts. The second one that takes effort is the Charge one, which requires 10 charge potency. Most charge IDs simply use count and gain potency on skill 3, but there are a lot of egos that help gain charge potency, so I'd suggest doing a charge run for this. Win a boss encounter after one ID takes damage equivalent to 80% of their max HP, then win the battle with that identity surviving. This is pretty easy, just spam defense skills against a boss on floor 1 or 2 until a few of your sinners look like they're only on 20% of their HP, then just simply win the encounter without them dying. Defeat all enemies in a turn where 10 or more enemies are on the field. Off the top of my head, I actually can't name a theme pack where 10 or more enemies show up on the field at once except for Full Stopped by a Bullet. This pack only shows up on floors 3 and 4, but I'd suggest picking it on floor 4 once you have a few more ego gifts. After about 4 to 5 turns, there will be 10 enemies on the field in the final battle, and then just use strong AoE egos or skill 3s to clear them out. Not hard, but it has to be done on specific packs. Use a single attack skill to either stagger or break 2 or more parts simultaneously. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even gonna suggest a strategy for this one. I did it automatically without trying, and I'm pretty sure this happens a lot in regular Mirror Dungeon runs. I think you would need an AoE ego though, or an AoE skill. But like, this isn't hard. Win an encounter after inflicting 10 types of negative effects on a single target. This is pretty easy. Rain IDs are good at this and it's their entire gimmick, but it should just happen naturally with any team in an extreme run if you get enough ego gifts. In a single run, clear 5 stages after activating the effects of the ego gift Entangled Fate in each of them. Entangled Fate is a tier 4 keywordless ego gift that shows up pretty commonly as a floor pack reward, which is where I'd suggest picking it up. In order to activate it, you need an absolute resonance chain of 7. This gives all of your allies plus 5 final power, and it can be activated once per encounter. Getting a chain of 7 resonance can be really annoying depending on the team you're running. Some teams can get 7 super easily, like a burn team with Wrath skills, or the middle with Envy being their entire gimmick, but other teams will struggle if you're using IDs with random sin affinities as their skill 3. I would suggest doing a run with this ego gift in mind and save skills with the sin affinity that you need. For example, I did a Poise Sinkin team run where most of my IDs had Gloom as their skill 3, except for the Full Stop duo who have a Gloom skill 1 and a Gloom skill 2. So instead of replacing those skills, I made sure to keep them. If you're rich and have a lot of egos, you can also use egos to make chain and 7 resonance a lot easier. Since it can only be activated once per fight and you need to do it 5 times, make sure you get this ego gift before floor 10 and activate it in every single fight. Defeat the Abnormal Seismic Zone pack while carrying Hardwood Liquor Cap and 5 or more liquor related ego gifts. Now this is worded as if you need Hardwood Liquor Cap, but they announced in recent patch notes that they're clarifying it to be that you only need 5 liquor related ego gifts, so I don't know why it's worded like this. Anyways, all of the liquor related ego gifts in the game include Green Spirit, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Wobbling Keg, Reverberation, Downpour, Devil's Share, Angel's Cut, Hardwood Liquor Cap, Chalice of Trickle Down, Trash Brain Wine, and Shaoxing Wine. I wouldn't suggest getting the last 4 since they're exclusive to specific theme packs. A lot of these gifts are low tier Tremor and Poise ego gifts, so just pick them up whenever you see them, and then defeat the Abnormal Seismic Zone pack whenever you have at least 5. With 2 or more Rain identities in your loadout, win an encounter counter after having one of them gain exquisite aesthetics with the exquisite artwork ego gift. There are currently 4 Rain identities at the moment, with those being Rain Otis, Rain Ysain, Rain Apprentice Faust, and Rain Nurse Father Han Lu. 2 more are coming out next week, so there are several options for IDs here. The exquisite artwork ego gift is an exclusive tier 4 fusion gift that can only be crafted by getting the average artwork gift and then fusing it with Homeward and Headless Portrait. Average artwork can only appear on the Kanto 9 pack Blade and Artwork, so you'll need to do that pack. Okay, editor Josh from the future here. Patch notes came out today and they updated it so that now instead of needing Headless Portrait, which is a random sink-in tier 1 ego gift, you need a pure white canvas, which is also another bleed ego gift found in the Blade and Artwork pack. This fusion makes way more sense than this one. So they're basically combining 2 Rain ego gifts together, and then you have the keywordless Homeward tier 2 gift. This is another time that patch notes has screwed over my CHUD video. Then, the tier 4 ego gift Exquisite Artwork works by allowing Rain identities to inflict Curio on hit, and then transform Curio into Art Medium with another hit. And then, when specifically a Rain identity kills an enemy with Art Medium, they'll gain Exquisite Aesthetics. Since it states on hit, that means that each debuff is applied per coin use, and not once per skill. So getting Art Medium on the enemy is actually really easy, but making sure a Rain identity kills said enemy can take a little effort. This can happen naturally in an unfocused encounter, but you can also just simply brute force it against a boss by spamming defense skills with non-Rain identities when you're about to kill the boss. And then last, you have the infamous deal 20,000 or more skill damage against an enemy with a single skill. This is very hard, but super doable if you know what you're doing and have a good ID to do it with. There are several IDs that can do this with their base skills at the moment, with good options being Index Ysain, Rain Han Lu, and Thumb Yourself, each using their empowered skill 3, which can take a bit of setting up. But if you don't have strong IDs, using a strong AoE ego is a really good alternative, and arguably easier. The strategy I would suggest is, do a good run and pick up the Burn Fragment ego gift to buff Wrath egos. Then, once you hit floor 11 or afterwards, pick the Bridle of Infinity pack. This pack is great for this since the first boss you fight has 3 total enemies with an invincibility gimmick. Then equip a leveled up Ysain ID with the free Great Trichiliocosm ego from the Battle Pass. There are definitely other strong egos that work, so if you have a strong ego for a team you're running, just use that instead. This method is just better for newer players without strong IDs or strong egos. Attack the enemies as normal the first few turns, allowing your ego gifts to kick in and apply debuffs to them. After a few turns, you'll get asked if you want to investigate the factory, to which you should say no 3 times. This will allow them to keep their invincibility gimmick for about 2 more turns. The same turn you're asked this, use Gebra's Ira ability on Ysain, and then use his Great Trichiliocosm ego in overclocked corrosion form, since this has strong AoE and rolls stupid high. I was able to hit just barely 20k damage using this strategy, but it didn't count because I think I did some sinking and rupture damage on the side, which just barely set me above the 20k threshold. I also happened to forget that the Ira ability exists. This was also on my run where I wasn't picking Lunar Memory. I'm not sure why I decided to do those 2 achievements at the same time. And then I also had the ego gift that gambles for whether you do more or less damage, and I rolled tails! But this goes to show that it's definitely doable. If I can barely hit 20,000 damage without Lunar Memory and without using the Ira ability, then with both of those, you can definitely do the same. Hey, this is editor Josh here from the future again. I ended up doing this achievement anyways a few days later and found out that I'm pretty sure the Ira ability does not apply to egos, since it says it only applies to base skills. So instead of using Ira, I would probably use Hesed's Mercy, since that will lower defense level. And I was able to do 22,000 damage with Great Trichiliocosm anyways using Ira. So with Hesed's Mercy, surely it's a bit better. Also, I would highly suggest probably not picking this pack past like floor 14, because at that point I think they'll get a lot more defense level up and they'll take less damage, so try to do it earlier. And also, if you want to use nuke moves with Ira ability, you have Index Ysain's Furioso, which I was able to hit 20k with, and also Rain Nurse Father Han Lu's nuke, and other options. There's also 2 other strategies that are definitely viable, which I think are worth mentioning. The first one is that you use a Tremor team with the Time Moratorium debuff applied by the T-Corp identities to do a nuke after a few turns, since Time Moratorium pauses damage then deals it all at once after several skills have hit it. So if you have a good Tremor team, that's a pretty easy option. There's also a strategy with Spice Bush Ysain where you can do like 20k damage on floor 1 if I'm remembering correctly, but it's like super cheesy and I feel like it's way too much effort when several IDs can do 20,000 damage with their empowered skill 3s now. I'm not going to cover adversity achievements since you should be picking up all adversities whenever you do a floor 15 run anyways. If you're struggling on beating floor 15 with all adversities, I'd suggest checking out my Mirror Dungeon Extreme guide, but overall you should complete all of these in one run really easily. Oh. Why is that here? Clear floor 15 without obtaining the ego gift Lunar Memory. Luckily, this doesn't affect your clashing, but bosses take forever to clear without the damage buffs that Lunar Memory provides. There is a strategy for doing this that I don't hear a lot of people mention. In the Unseverin pack, there's a keywordless tier 3 ego gift called Omni Tool that allows you to change enemy resistances to make them weaker to your damage type after hitting them with skills a few times. I would suggest picking this ego gift up and then enhancing it to allow it to activate more often. It takes a while to ramp up, but it does help to some effect, especially when your team does similar types of damage. And that is all of the achievements. If you haven't done any of them yet, I'd suggest doing a few Mirror Dungeon Extreme runs with different teams and then seeing what's left to do afterwards, since so many of these achievements complete themselves automatically. Sadly, most people will get locked out of finishing all the achievements for simply not owning all of the IDs for the Loadout Achievements, which kinda sucks and isn't fun, but the only reward you miss out on is a banner that has a similar looking one that's actually animated in the achievement pass anyways. But hey, if it makes you feel better, I couldn't do all of the Loadout achievements last season, and there's a decent chance I can't for this season either because they keep dropping double banners and I'm low-key broke and LARPing, and honestly I don't even like this game. I don't even know why I make videos on it.